we begin?
Yes, I am ready.
Alright, okay. Assalamualaikum and greetings everyone. I am Shahmi Nawawi and I'll be the MC for today. Alright, before we begin, I have few housekeeping notes to make. The first one is I would like to remind everyone to switch off their mic so that there will be no disruption during our speaker giving his speech. Second, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask, but don't forget to turn on your camera and introduce yourself, alright? Okay, before we begin, I think it would be nice for me to brief a little bit about our speaker today. Alright, our speaker today is Mr. Ravi Niko, who is the partner at Hakim Arabi and Associates, acting as the head of civil litigations. His area of specialty, general and civil litigation. Right. Mr. Ravi Niko had graduated from the University of London in 1994 with an honours degree and completed the Certificate of Legal Practice in 1995. He obtained his Masters in Law and Masters in Criminal Justice in 2002 at the University of Malaya. He was further admitted to the Supreme Court of New South Wales, Supreme Court of South Australia, and the High Court of Australia as a barrister and solicitor. Having gained sufficient legal knowledge and experience and having run his own practice, he joined Mrs. Hakim Arabi and Associates as a partner in 2009. Therefore, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Ravi Niko to give his speech. Please.
Thank you, Shami, for the kind words. So all of you all will be wondering, what is the head of civil litigation talking about prima facie case? Well, in the initial stages of my practice, I did a lot of criminal matters, and currently in my practice, I still do criminal matters, but very selected criminal matters. Yep. So, and I think if I'm not mistaken, in 2006, I wrote a paper which was published in Malayan Law Journal on prima facie case. Alright, having set that out, let's go and discuss what is prima facie case all about. Next slide, please. Okay, in order for me to explain what is prima facie case about, we must understand, hold it, Shaman. Yeah, we must understand the criminal trial process first. Without understanding the criminal trial process, very difficult for us to understand what is prima facie case. All right. So first thing first, let's start from the basics first. The accused is charged in court. Can the slide be made bigger, Shami? Full screen. Yes, thank you. Okay. So, first thing first, the accused is produced in court and the charge is read and explained to him. You would have seen this. So, they will bring the accused to court. We call him orang kena tuduh, ya? OKT, orang kena tuduh. Then, the pertuduhan will be read, akan dibaca. For example, they say, kamu pada sekian-sekian hari, sekian-sekian masa, tempat sekian-sekian, telah melakukan sekian-sekian, dan oleh itu kamu sekarang ini dituduh di bawah sekian-sekian, dan sekiranya didapati bersalah akan dijatuh hukum sebanyak berapa tahun. Okay, so the accused is produced in court and the charge is read to him. Then he'll be asked, faham tak? If he says, ya faham, the next question the jurubahasa will ask him is, aku salah atau minta bicara? This is the start of the criminal trial. So as I said earlier, sebelum kita bincang apa itu prima facie, I need to take you all to ground zero first, kan? So the ground zero is the accused is now charged in court, charge is read to him, charge is explained to him, dia kata dia faham pertuduhan, dan the jurubahasa asking, how do you plead? So macam mana? Minta bicara atau aku salah? Kalau dia kata aku salah, it's a different issue altogether. Kita tak payah understand apa itu prima facie case. Isu dia di sini, macam mana kalau dia kata minta bicara. Then we move on to the next step. So far so good, Okay, so charge is read, explain, he understand the charge, jurubahasa tanya dia, macam mana, kamu nak aku salah atau minta bicara? Dia kata minta bicara. Then we go to the next step. Next slide please, Syamil. Okay, OKT minta bicara. OKT seorang kena tuduh, minta bicara. So if OKT minta bicara, court will fix a date for the DPP to hand over documents to the OKT pursuant to section 51A CPC. Okay, mahkamah akan kata, okay, OKT minta bicara, so tetapkan satu tarikh untuk TPR memberikan dokumen-dokumen di bawah section 51A kepada OKT. So mahkamah akan tetapkan satu tarikh. Then on the next date, the documents are handed over and the court, so today, charge, aku salah tak minta bicara? Minta bicara. Okay, then today the court says, DPP, hand over the documents to the OKT. Tetapkan satu tarikh. So now, tarikh number 2 comes. Tarikh number 2, TPR memberikan semua dokumen-dokumen kepada OKT. So OKT telah pun terima dokumen-dokumen itu. Dah? Dan then mahkamah akan kata, kita tetapkan satu tarikh bicara. Okay lah, that's teori lah. Biasanya dari segi praktikal, tarikh kedua pun not all documents diberikan. So mahkamah kata, TPR sudah hantar semua dokumen, belum lagi pun ada beberapa lagi dokumen yang belum lagi dihantar. Okey, tetapkan lagi satu tarikh sebutan. So tarikh sebutan, sehinggalah TPR telah menyerahkan ke semua dokumen di bawah section 51A kepada OKT. So dari segi praktikal, this tarikh sebutan berjalan for 2-3 kali. Alright, sebelum tarikh bicara ditetapkan. But for theoretical purposes, I'm saying that, katalah second date, dokumen semua telah pun diberikan kepada OKT, terus we fix the matter for trial. So on the next date, documents are handed over and the court fixes a date for bicara, for trial. Next slide please. Tarikh bicara. So what will happen on the tarikh bicara? What will happen on the tarikh bicara? Tarikh bicara, prosecution will call the prosecution witnesses, saksi pendakwaan. Prosecution will conduct the EIC, pemeriksaan utama, examination in chief. Then defense will cross-examine, pemeriksaan balas. Then prosecution will re-examine the prosecution witnesses. So siapakah saksi-saksi masa ini? All are prosecution witnesses. So prosecution will call prosecution witness number 1, then EIC, cross-examination, re-examination. Prosecution will call prosecution witness number 2, then EIC, cross-examination, re-examination. Prosecution will call prosecution witness number 3, EIC, cross-examination, re-examination. Sampai itulah, kalau prosecution ada 40 witnesses, all these 3 steps will go on and on for every one of the witnesses. Follow? No confusion, Okay. I hope you all are following because I cannot see each and every one of you. Kalau ada apa-apa soalan, hold on to it last and then ask me the questions. Okay, now next slide please. Okay. So katalah prosecution ada 40 saksi. And all these 3 steps, examination in chief, cross-examination, re-examination. Dah habis dah. So who will do the examination in chief? Kalau prosecution's witness, prosecution will do the examination in chief. If you are the defense counsel, you will do the cross-examination. Then prosecution will do the re-examination. Alright, these are the 3 steps kan? So after kalau 40 witness, these 3 steps already finished, prosecution akan tutup case mereka. Prosecution will close the case. All prosecution saja kan? Belum lagi defense saksi, belum lagi. Prosecution will close the case. So look at this. After calling its witnesses, the prosecution will then close its case. When I say after calling its witness, the prosecution closes the case, the understanding you must have is the 3 proses tadi sudah habis. They call, examination chief dah habis, cross-examination pun dah habis, re-examination pun dah habis. All that finish already, for example, untuk 40 saksi. Lepas tu prosecution akan tutup case. Masa tu, defense will usually submit a no case to answer and will ask for a date to be fixed for hujahan. What it is? Look at the next one. Basically, defense is saying that the pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. Our topic for today. Apa itu prima facie? So defense kata pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. So no need for defense to be called. Our submission, the defense submission, ours because I do a lot of defense work. The defense submission is the court should lepaskan dan bebaskan OKT tanpa memanggil untuk membela diri. This is at the first stage. So bila pihak pendakwaan tutup dia kes, the defense will normally say, we want to make a submission of no case to answer. Bermakna pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. Kita nak satu tarikh hujahan. Hujahan akan ditetapkan. Semasa kita membuat hujahan, kita akan menghujah bahawa pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. Oleh itu, OKT harus dilepaskan dan dibebaskan tanpa dipanggil untuk membela diri. And you must see, give reasons why lah. Not just say pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie puan, oleh itu lepaskan OKT dan bebaskan yang duduk. Tak boleh lah. You must give reasons why you are saying pihak pembelaan, pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. So that is why we want to understand, apakah kes prima facie itu? Apakah yang pihak pendakwaan harus membuktikan dalam kes pendakwaan? That's what we need to understand. And that's exactly the topic for discussion today. Move on to the next one, please. Court disagree. Court doesn't agree with you that pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. What happened? Court kata pembelaan dipanggil. So now I'm going to the second stage. First stage is kes pendakwaan. Lepas kes pendakwaan, pendakwaan akan tutup kes. Bila pendakwaan tutup kes, kita akan kata kita akan berhujahan pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. Mahkamah tak setuju dengan kita, mahkamah akan panggil OKT untuk membela diri. So that's the second stage. The mahkamah akan memanggil OKT untuk membela diri is a second stage. Stage itu kita kata kes pembelaan. So prosecution case dah habis. Now defense case starts. So court disagrees and calls for defense. OKT will be given 3 pilihan. 3 options. Give sworn evidence, meaning go into the witness box, angkat sumpah, give evidence. Ataupun keterangan tidak bersumpah. You know, the witness will be sitting in the kandang saksi dia dan dengar aja. Kalau dia tak nak bagi keterangan bersumpah, dia akan pilih untuk memberi keterangan tak bersumpah. So just get up, tak payah angkat sumpah apa-apa, just cakap lah. Apa nak cakap, cakap je lah. Apa nak cakap, cakap je lah. So what's the difference? Kalau keterangan bersumpah, dia pergi naik on the witness box, dia bagi keterangan, the defense counsel will conduct examination in chief. The prosecution will conduct cross-examination. The defense will conduct re-examination. 3 proses yang sama tadi akan diulangi sini. Tetapi kalau dia bagi keterangan tidak bersumpah, stand up in the witness box, ceritalah apa nak cerita. Tak payah angkat sumpah. Just cerita je apa yang nak cerita, lepas cerita duduk aja. Tak ada examination in chief, tak ada cross-examination, tak ada re-examination. So then we need to understand. So dari segi weight of evidence, which is stronger? Keterangan bersumpah atau keterangan tidak bersumpah? Surely keterangan bersumpah lah. Why keterangan bersumpah? Because the OKT has gone to the witness box and ready to be cross-examined. So if he's ready to be cross-examined, that means he's got something proper to tell lah. So more weight is given to a keterangan bersumpah, less weight is given to a keterangan tidak bersumpah. Not zero weight dah. Not fair lah. You kata ada 3 option, lepas tu kata you bagi keterangan tidak bersumpah, I will not take into account anything. Not fair kan? So weight will be given, but kalau kita bandingkan comparatively, keterangan bersumpah is the better one. The third option, pilih untuk diamkan diri, right to remain silent. Right to remain silent. So this is, kalau defense is called, dipilih untuk diamkan diri, ada problem dia sendiri. So from a very practical point of view, from the bila the person come, say lah, I'm going to assume all of you are going to be in practice lah, katalah, when the person comes to your office and say, this is the charge against me, I want you to defend me, kita masa tu sudah pun kena inform the client what will happen, the 3 stages. Mula-mula you tak payah cakap apa-apa, duduk dengar sahaja, kerana pihak pendakwaan yang akan memanggil saksi mereka. Bila mereka panggil, kita bagi pihak kamu akan buat cross examination, then you do hujahan. Kalau memanggil untuk membela diri, baru you kena bela diri. And bila nak bela diri, you kena faham, you got these 3 options. Kalau dia kata, I want to pilih untuk diamkan diri, bolehkah? Then you will advise him, boleh, but you kena jaga the consequences there. Right from the start, he needs to be aware, because the consequences of mendiamkan diri is very serious. Until today, I don't understand why we give him the option to remain silent, but the consequences are very negative. I will discuss that in a short while. Yeah? Next slide, please. Keterangan bersumpah. OKT will take the witness stand first. Defense will do the examination in chief, kan? Because this one is the defense case. Prosecution's case dah beda. Prosecution will cross-examine. Defense will re-examine. So kalau defense pun ada 10-20 saksi, panggil lah. Saksi pertama has to be OKT. Has to be. The rule says, CPC kata OKT dulu. So saksi pertama OKT datang. Saksi kedua mungkin any other witnesses lah. So again the 3 process. EIC, cross-examination, re-examination. Saksi pembelaan ketiga, EIC, cross-examination, re-examination. That entire process will go through. Proses dia sama. First stage pendakwaan, second stage pembelaan. Pendakwaan mungkin ada 40 saksi, 50 saksi. These 3 stage must go through. Defense can have 40 saksi, 50 saksi. Biasanya tak begitu banyak lah. Usually about 10 to 12. Again, this 3 stage will be applied to the defense case as well. Okay? Masa kes pendakwaan, defense counsel will do the cross-examination. Masa kes pembelaan, prosecution will do the cross-examination. Okay? Okay, next slide please. Defense closes the case. So after kesemua saksi pembelaan dipanggil, defense akan tutup case. So mula-mula tadi kita kata pendakwaan akan tutup case. Then after that kita buat hujahan, pendakwaan tidak membuktikan case prima facie. Mahkamah tak setuju, mahkamah panggil OKT untuk bela diri. So now sekarang kita pula panggil saksi-saksi pembelaan pula. After that, pembelaan tutup case. So when the defense closes the case, sekarang prosecution will submit that, sorry, they have proven their case beyond reasonable doubt, tanpa keraguan munasabah. Defense will argue at the second stage that they have raised a reasonable doubt, ada keraguan munasabah. prosecution will reply. So at this stage, kita kena faham two things. At the close of prosecution's case, prima facie case. Sama ada pihak pendakwaan berjaya membuktikan kes prima facie. Kalau mereka berjaya membuktikan kes prima facie, call for defense. At the close of the defense case, prosecution will submit, we have proven our case beyond reasonable doubt. If the court is agreeable, accused will be convicted. If the court doesn't agree, accused will be acquitted, dilepaskan dan dibebaskan at that stage. Clear? So two stages we are talking about. Next slide, please. Okay. Court will decide. This is close of defense case. Court will decide. I've given you the case of Sufyan J at that time. He was later a Lord President. In the case of Mat and PP 1963 decision. Take some time, read this case. Dua muka surat sahaja. Just 2 pages. But so clearly written on what is the responsibility of the court at the close of the defense case. What is the responsibility of the court? Okay? The court says, this is how Sufyan J wrote. If you are satisfied beyond reasonable doubt as to the accused's guilt, convict. Justice Sufyan is telling the magistrates what they have to do after the close of defense case. Close of defense case. Justice Sufyan kata, if you are satisfied beyond reasonable doubt, convict. Okay. But then, that is based on the prosecution's case. Prosecution, say for theft, prosecution kena prove that barang itu bukan OKT punya. OKT telah ambil barang tanpa kebenaran tuan punya. Both of that you are satisfied, convict. But hold on. He also says, but wait, if you accept or believe the accused explanation, accused kata memang I ambil, tapi I ambil because ada explanation dia lah. So if you accept the explanation of the accused, acquit. That means even though the prosecution has proved the case, because I accept the explanation, that means I have got a doubt lah. Dari segi undang-undang, yes, prosecution telah pun satisfy number 1, number 2, number 3. But dari segi undang-undang, I also accept the penjelasan yang telah diberi oleh OKT kenapa dia buat benda tu. I accept. Memang boleh berlaku macam tu. So dia kata, kita acquit. So acquit. But then dia kata, ayah, I don't believe the accused lah. Cerita accused tu I don't believe lah. So if you do not accept or believe the accused explanation, prosecution memang dah prove the case dah. But accused pun ada cerita dia, tapi cerita dia tak logik lah, tak masuk akal lah. What do I do? Can I convict? If I don't believe the accused, can I convict? No. Justice Sufyan say no. Do not convict. If you don't accept the accused explanation, don't convict. Do not convict. But take the following steps. If you do not accept or believe the accused explanation, and that explanation does not raise in your mind a reasonable doubt as to his guilt, you convict. That means you again go through a second stage of analyzing the evidence. First stage, prosecution dah prove. Accused explanation, tak logic. Can I convict? No. So say don't convict first. Again, you ask yourself this question. If you do not, boleh tak saya betul-betul rasakan yang cerita OKT itu tak logik? Really then he said, no lah, I don't believe him at all lah. Sure, I don't believe him. After the second test, baru I convict. Because the understanding is, to throw someone in prison, to take away his liberty, is a very serious matter. It cannot be done at a snap of finger. So that is why Justice Sufyan say, you do a second mental analysis of the evidence yang ada. Then he says this, if you do not accept or believe the accused explanation, but nevertheless, you tak percayalah. Tapi you kata, tapi boleh jugalah jadi macam tu. Walaupun I tak percaya, tapi ada kemungkinan benda tu boleh berlaku lah. The moment I say ada kemungkinan benda itu berlaku, I must acquit. Sorry, the print is out there. The answer is acquit. Just for those who got the slide, just nanti you print it out and tulis, can acquit. So what I'm saying is, now convict and acquit tu is not automatic process, We need to analyze the evidence. We need to think carefully. And that's why I'm saying, do read Justice Sufyan's judgment, 2-page judgment. I don't think any other judges have written it in a more clearer and cleverer manner than this. So simple, so straightforward. Right? Okay, next slide please. Okay, now I come to our topic. After half an hour saya bercerita, sekarang I come to the topic. What is prima facie? Remember, prima facie is the first stage, not the second stage. Not what Justice Sufyan said tadi kan? Because what Justice Sufyan said tadi is the close of defense case. Itu tak ada hal. No issue at all, no perbincangan at all. That is the law from 1950s. Tak ada hal. But now I want to discuss what is prima facie. Meaning, I'm going to go back and take you all to the first stage study. Are you all following me?
Yes.
Following? I'm going to take you all back to the first stage study. Bila pendakwaan menutup kes mereka. When the prosecution closes the case. We are going to make a submission, no case to answer, because prosecution gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. Therefore, mahkamah harus melepaskan dan membebaskan OKT tanpa memanggil untuk membela diri. That is the submission we want to make. So, but what is prima facie? Okay. The burden is on the prosecution to prove every ingredient which constitutes the offence with which the accused is charged. When at the close of the prosecution's case, every ingredient is proved, then there's a case for the accused to answer. This is what Arul Pragasam, the court told us what is prima facie case. Yeah? Let me break it down for you all. Let me break it down for you all. Let me give you the example of case curi. Curi motor. Okay. Easier. Case curi motor. Okay. Bahawa kamu pada sekian-sekian masa, sekian-sekian tarikh, di tempat sekian-sekian telah mencuri sebuah motosikal Yamaha RXZ nombor whatever, nombor pendaftaran whatever, milikkan XXX tanpa kebenarannya, dan oleh itu kamu telah dituduh di bawah Seksyen 379A Kanun Keseksaan. Dan sekiranya kamu didapati bersalah, kamu akan dihukum penjara selama sekian-sekian. Faham pertuduhan? Faham. Aku salah? Tidak aku salah. Kita bicara. Okay, fine. That's the pertuduhan. So, dalam kes curi motor, apakah ingredient intipati yang harus dibuktikan oleh pihak pendakwaan? Nombor 1, motor tu bukan motor OKT. Okey? Bagaimana pihak pendakwaan akan membuktikan bahawa motor tu bukan motor OKT? How? Grand motor lah. Kan? Grand motor lah. And siapa yang kena bawa grand motor tu ke mahkamah? Pemilik motor lah. So, pemilik motor akan bawa grand motor ke mahkamah. So, proven tadi. Katalah pemilik motor tidak dapat dicari. Prosecution cannot prove a prima facie case. Kan? So, every ingredient, I'm emphasizing on the word every ingredient. Setiap intipati pertuduhan harus dibuktikan. So, untuk pertuduhan kes curi motor, satu daripada intipati pertuduhan ialah bahawa motor itu bukan motor milik OKT. So pemilik sebenar kena datang ke mahkamah. Dan pemilik sebenar datang mahkamah bukan hanya cerita motor tu saya punya, kena tunjuk pula geran motor. Okay, number one. And number two, the prosecution will ask, okay, mana kamu letak motosikal tu? Saya pergi sana. Kenapa kamu pergi sana? Pergi beli belah. Mana kamu letak di tempat parking? Dan apa yang berlaku? Dan saya tertinggal kunci saya di motor, for example lah. Lepas tu apa jadi? Saya pergi makan. Lepas tu apa jadi? Bila saya datang, saya nampak motor saya telah hilang. Adakah kamu tahu siapa yang ambil motor itu? Saya tidak tahu. Okay. So, to show that motor itu telah diambil oleh seseorang tanpa persetujuan ataupun kebenaran pemilik motor. So, that are the two ingredients. So, kalau kedua-dua intipati itu telah pun dibuktikan, ini bermakna pihak pendakwaan telah membuktikan kes prima facie. So, that means for every pertuduhan, there is intipati yang kena dibuktikan oleh pihak pendakwaan. Okay, for example, let me give you the example of okay, let me do case rogol. What is the intipati yang anda dibuktikan oleh pihak pendakwaan dalam kes rogol? There was sexual intercourse,
penetration
without consent, tanpa kebenaran. Kan? There was sexual intercourse without consent. Okay. Macam mana nak buktikan sexual intercourse? Medical report. Kalau tak ada medical report, how? Kan? How to prove without consent? Evidence lah. Dibawa ke tempat ni tanpa persetujuan dia, and this thing happen, there is evidence to lead to that. So that is the intipati pertuduhan. So what I'm trying to explain to you is, every pertuduhan terdapat intipati dia. So tugas pendakwa raya ialah untuk membuktikan every ingredient. Setiap ingredient. Kalau sesuatu pertuduhan itu mempunyai 5 intipati, pihak pendakwaan harus membuktikan kelima-lima intipati. So what is the job of a pembelaan? Hanya mencabar satu daripada 5 intipati itu. That's all. The defense got to do. I'm saying that's all. Not saying it's easy. It's difficult, but that's your job. The defense job. So kalau pihak pembelaan boleh mematahkan satu daripada intipati pertuduhan, hujahan pihak pembelaan di akhir kes pendakwaan ialah bahawa pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan intipati ini. Satu daripada intipati itu. Kerana mereka tak membawakan medical report, for example, tidak membawakan geran motor, for example. Oleh itu, tiada kes prima facie. Okay, I give you another real life example. Statutory rape. Statutory rape is where a girl is raped and the girl is below 16 years old. Okay? What is the intipati pertuduhan ialah rape and all that lah. But one of the more fundamental intipati pertuduhan is to show that the girl is below 16 years old. Kan? How do you show that?
Identification. Birth certificate.
There was one particular case, birth certificate tidak ditender di mahkamah. No prima facie case. No prima facie case because you have not failed to prove the intipati pertuduhan bahawa the girl is below 16 years old. You see what I'm saying or not? So what I'm saying is, if you are acting for the prosecution, you need to know what is the intipati pertuduhan. Kalau terdapat 5 intipati pertuduhan, you need to prove each of and every one of the intipati pertuduhan. Kalau you are acting for the defense, you look at the 5 intipati pertuduhan, you ask yourself, which is the intipati which you can knock off? Very difficult to knock off all 5. Very difficult. But if I can knock off one of the 5, 2 of the 5, then my cross-examination of the prosecution witnesses will menghala fokus kepada 2 yang saya percaya saya boleh patahkan. That's how I do my cross. Focus. Saya tahu what is my defense. Based on that, I will cuba patahkan dia. So when I do my cross-examination, bukan apa-apa soalan yang saya suka tanya, saya akan tanya. No, I got a focus. I know these are the two intipati which is a weak one. So I will cross and cross and cross along those lines. Alright? Okay, next step. Next slide please. The two stages, I've spoken about it. Close of prosecution's case, prosecution must show it is made out of prima facie case. Close of defense case, prosecution must show that it has proven its case beyond reasonable doubt. So untuk proven its case beyond reasonable doubt, the case law which you need to know is the case law of Mat and PP, Justice Sufyan. The case law which you need to know for prima facie case, itulah yang kita nak bincang kali ini. Quite a bit of cases. But I'll tell you how to narrow it down by the time I come to the last slide. Okay, next slide please. Prima facie case. Kena tahu asal usul benda ni. Where it all started, this prima facie case. This prima facie case started with the case of Hao Tua Tao. Okay, so as students, I still remember when we were reading this case, we call it Gua Tak Tahu, because none of us could understand what on earth is prima facie case all about until you really see it, you feel it, you understand how it works. So my job is to make you all understand today what is prima facie case in the next 30 minutes. Okay, it can be done. But again, before I talk to you about Hao Tua Tao, the principle in Hao Tua Tao, sedikit cerita mengenai Hao Tua Tao ni baguslah. It's actually a Singapore case. Hao Tua Tao is a Singapore case which went to the Privy Council of UK. That's why kita ada law diplock. That's why we got law diplock. What is Hao Tua Tao's case all about? Hao Tua Tao was running a stall in Singapore. Can't remember which place lah. He's got a neighbouring stall. Kan stall gerai yang bangku meja tu common kan? So everybody can sit everywhere, then they order mi soup dari saya hantar, they order air dari dia hantar, and all that lah, like that lah, common activity lah. But then also you will understand, kalau gerai itu mungkin ada 2-3 kerusi bench depan gerai saya, itu like my one lah. You lain orang jangan kacau lah, kan? So kalau pun orang lain datang makan sana, you ambil your pinggang mangkuk, you bersihkan dengan lah. You understand kan? Very very Malaysian like acting lah when we go to gerai. Orang lain boleh datang makan meja yang saya anggap sebagai saya punya, but you clean it up. But in Hao Tua Tao's case, yang neighbor dia tu selalu tak clean up meja depan gerai Hao Tua Tao. Hao Tua Tao upset. One day he went, he took a chopper, he chopped the fella. Then Hao Tua Tao's, the guy's mother came to help. Mother pun kena chop. So dua-dua mati. That was what happened in Hao Tua Tao's case. So the matter went to the Singapore court, went to the Court of Appeal, then went to the Privy Council of London. So Privy Council of London, kita ada Lord Diplock. Lord Diplock kata, at the close of the prosecution case, as long as there is some evidence that is not inherently incredible, defense should be called. Let's understand this one. And Shami, can you just go back to the earlier slide? One more earlier. Okay, hold on, thanks. Here in Arul Pragasam, dia kata, the burden is on the prosecution to prove every ingredient. Arul Pragasam, Malaysian case. Every ingredient. In 1997, after Hao Tua Tao, but I'm telling, why I'm starting off with Hao Tua Tao is, I'm trying to tell you a little bit of history lah, for you to understand, because the topic today is the Facie case. So Malaysian case, 1997, post Hao Tua Tao kata, prosecution must prove every ingredient. Tapi apa Lord Diplock kata? 2 slides ahead, Shami. Okay. What Lord Diplock says, as long as there's some evidence that is not inherently incredible, defense should be called. Okay, let's analyze this. Apa tu makna not inherently incredible? That means evidence of the prosecution, as long as evidence of the prosecution ada yang masuk akal, call for defense, call for defense. Evidence that is not inherently incredible. Kalau evidence prosecution tu langsung tak masuk akal, don't call for defense. Kalau ada yang something masuk akal, sampun cukuplah call for defense. So by now you will understand what Lord Diplock said and what Arul Pragasam said later is different. What Lord Diplock said is sedikit pun ada and sedikit credibility ada pada evidence tu, call lah, call tak apa, call for defense. As long kalau langsung tak masuk akal, don't call for defense, let it go. So that's how Tata was started. Our problem is how Tata is a privy council decision, Singapore case. Kenapa pula kita di Malaysia yang inginkan case ni? It was because of Raghunathan. How Tata came into Malaysia because the Supreme Court in 1982 imported How Tata from Singapore to Malaysia. So that is why How Tata's principle became part of Malaysia principle because of Raghunathan. In Raghunathan's case, this prima facie case test was adopted. Dia kata, as long as the evidence is not inherently incredible, kalau ada pun sedikit yang masuk akal, tak apa, panggil je untuk dia bela diri. Sedikit pun cukup. Tapi kalau langsung inherently incredible, langsung tak boleh percaya, throw the case out. Understand lah? Raghunathan, for interest purposes, is a case where he was an immigration officer, Raghunathan. He issued a special pass, which was a fake special pass. So, dia kena tuduh di mahkamah. Raghunathan's case was later followed in Munusami and also Junaidi. But I'll hold on to the two cases. I'll discuss Munusami and Junaidi in detail later. But at the moment, apa itu prima facie case? It started from How Tata, and How Tata basically says, kalau pun ada sedikit evidence yang masuk akal, call for defense. And why is a Singapore case troubling us in Malaysia? Because of Raghunathan. Because Supreme Court in Raghunathan imported the principle of How Tata into Malaysian shores. Clear? Clear? Okay. I hope so. Let's move on to the next issue. Next slide, please. Okay. Munusami's case. Okay. Munusami's case, Justice Azmi wrote this judgment. Dia kata, there is no duty cast on the prosecution to actually prove their case beyond reasonable doubt as to the guilt of the accused at the close of case for the prosecution. Okay, yeah. So, we already got Raghunathan. Raghunathan brought How Tata into Malaysia. So, Munusami's case, Justice Azmi, Supreme Court judge, was saying, at the close of prosecution's case, prosecution doesn't have a duty to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. And we also agree lah. The burden to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt, according to Justice Sufyan tadi, is only at the close of the defense case. Prosecution dah cerita, defense pun dah cerita, masa itulah beyond reasonable doubt. Masa prima facie itu, memang kita pun setuju dengan Justice Azmi dalam kes Munusami yang mengatakan bahawa prosecution doesn't have a burden to prove the case. So we got no problem with this case. We got no problem with this case. Okay? So just keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. I will, as I go along. So don't be confused. I hope you are not confused yet. How Tata spoke about the lower standard. That lower standard was spoken about in Raghunathan's case. Okay? And then we have also got Munusami's case. Munusami's case, Justice Sufyan said, at the close of prosecution's case, no duty to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. We all agree. We got no problems with that. memang kita tahu at the close of prosecution's case, the duty of the prosecution is not to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. Memang kita setuju. Alright? Okay, keep that in mind. Move on to the next slide. Junaidi's case. I put all this napang here because he was charged for firearms, Akta Senjata Api. Section 57 sub 1, Akta Keselamatan Negara, ISA, Internal Security Act, 1950, charged for firearms, possession of firearms, memiliki senjata api. So again, Justice asked me, by calling an accused to enter his defense, it should be assumed that the trial judge, hakim bicara, must on evaluation of the evidence have been satisfied that the prosecution has at the stage of the trial established a prima facie case. Okay, agree? Prosecution, during the prosecution's case, must establish a prima facie case. Okay, now the keywords, which if unrebutted would warrant a conviction to the accused. Stop there. Very important, sir. This is so important to understand. Lord Diplock in How Thought said, kalau evidence itu inherently incredible, don't call for evidence. But kalau it is not inherently incredible, call for defense. Clear? Lord Diplock, How Thought, followed in Raghunathan. Kalau evidence itu completely tak masuk akal, meaning inherently incredible, don't call for defense. But kalau it is not inherently incredible, means masuk akal lah, sikit-sikit masuk akal lah, call for defense, not Diplock. But in Junaidi, this is what Justice Azmi is saying, which, if unrebutted, would warrant the conviction of the accuser. I want you all to understand, these keywords, if unrebutted, would warrant the conviction, is a higher standard. Dia kata, prosecution has already proved, closed its case. The judge is now thinking, now call for defense atau don't call for defense. Call for defense or don't call for defense. Kalau kita apply Lord Diplock, How tahu, dia kata, sikit ada pun call. Kan? Sikit ada evidence pun call. Langsung tak masuk akal, then don't call. Lord Diplock. But in Junaidi dia kata, if unrebutted would warrant a conviction. That means prosecution ada keterangan dia. Kalau keterangan prosecution ini tidak dibalas dengan pembelaan, okey, tentu akan dihukum kesalahan. Kalau begitu, must call for defense. That means, I repeat this. According to Junaidi, Supreme Court Judge Azmi is saying, prosecution has proven the case. Judge is thinking, nak call for defense or tak nak call for defense. The test which was done in the mind of the judge is, this evidence is so strong, bila I call for defense, dia tak jawab, mesti dia kena. If that is the case, must call for defense. So what I want you all to appreciate, Junaidi's test is very high. The How Thought test is very low. So in other words, Junaidi's case, they say, prosecution, dari the word start, go, the evidence must be strong already. Kalau so strong, dia tutup case, kita hujah, tak ada prima facie case, mahkamah akan tentukan, okay, ada ini. Kalau ke semua ini saya campur, and I call for pembelaan, dia tak jawab, mesti dia akan kena. That means now I'm calling for defense. I bagi dia chance. I call for defense, sekarang dia jawab. Kalau dia kata saya tak nak jawab, saya akan hukum dia. Saya sedia untuk hukum dia sebagai hakim. So the test, according to Justice Azmi, is unrebutted with warrant of conviction. So the key words you must remember is this: how Tautau, inherently incredible. Junaidi is unrebutted with warrant of conviction. Those are the key words you need to remember. I hope I've made myself clear here. The difference, you must see the difference. Basically, I'm saying in Junaidi the test is very high, whereas in how Tautau the test is very low. Right, let me explore this a little bit more with you all. Let's move to the next slide. Hu Hijau. Okay, kita cerita sikit. Drug case. Dia pergi Thailand. I think you all are very young lah. You all wouldn't know Toyota KE30. Macam the shape of the Toyota KE30 is like a turtle. Small car. Ada petrol tank kan. What he did, he divided the petrol tank into two. Alright? So, satu isi minyak, satu simpan dadah. Alright? So, then he wanted to come from Thailand to KL. So, he wants to pass the border of Alostar. So, journey dia jauh kan? Dia juga ada beberapa extra gas tank lah. Gasoline, balang-balang gas ada, petrol ada. So, he was driving the car. Cross border, Alostar border. Police check, police arrested Hu Hijau. Basically a drug case. Went to the Supreme Court. 5 member, because dulu Supreme Court cuma 3 saja. But because kita ada Junaidi, kita ada Raghunathan, kita sudah ada Junaidi, kita ada Raghunathan, kita ada Mulusamy, all Supreme Court decision. All tiga hakim. So sekarang kita kata lagi terror lah, kita nak 5 hakim duduk lah, dengar lah benda ni. Because now it's a confusion. Now it's a confusion. Is how Tautau the correct principle in law? Ada confusion sekarang. And all the decision Raghunathan, Junaidi dengan Mulusamy semua kes Mahkamah Agong. So sekarang kita nak 5 Mahkamah Agong, 5 hakim Mahkamah Agong duduk dan dengar kes ini. So Supreme Court, dulu Supreme Court, sekarang Mahkamah Persekutuan, which sat with 5-member panel, decided unanimously that the test at the close of prosecution's case should be beyond reasonable doubt. Edgar Joseph, speaking on behalf of the Supreme Court, held that the court must undertake a maximum evaluation of evidence. Okay, so now, don't get confused. Take this Hu Hijau's case to mean what the 5 judges are saying is the standard must be a high standard. So, how Tautau standard is low standard? Junaidi also spoke about a high standard which unrebutted with warrant of conviction. So, Hu Hijau also is talking about a high standard. Of course, they're using the word beyond reasonable doubt. Which I also feel they shouldn't use beyond reasonable doubt lah. Because burden of prosecution at the close of prosecution case is not beyond reasonable doubt. Burden of beyond reasonable doubt only close of defense case. So the usage of the word may be a little problematic, tetapi the spirit and the intent adalah standard tu kena high lah. Kalau you nak panggil seseorang untuk bela diri, make sure you already prove your case. Baru dia kena bela diri lah. You tak prove case betul-betul, you suruh dia bela diri for what? I'm innocent until proven guilty kan. So make sure you prosecution, you prove all the guilty party, you ask for the bela diri lah. Tapi diplok kata, sikit pun tak apalah. As long as it's masuk akal, sikit pun tak apalah, suruh dia bela diri lah. So we are saying we're not happy with that. Junaidi is agrees with that. Hu Hijau pun kata begitu, but the problem with Hu Hijau is the word, the choice of the word beyond reasonable doubt. That is where it created a lot of problem for us. And that is why students will take all these cases. And, okay, next slide please. Hu Hijau, Edgar Joseph held that at the close of the prosecution's case, duty of the court is to undertake not a minimal evaluation of evidence tendered by the prosecution, but maximum evaluation of such evidence. So dia kata, he's explaining lah. When I say beyond reasonable doubt, bukan minimal evaluation like Lord Diplo kata sikit pun tak apa. Not like that, not minimal. What I'm saying is must be maximum, which is what Junaidi is saying. which unrebutted would warrant a conviction. So he's explaining himself. At the close of prosecution case, kita kena ada maximum evaluation of evidence, not sikit-sikit like what Hao Tao said. Alright? Next one. Next slide, please. Okay. Sekarang kita ada Tan Boon Kiat pula. Tengok ah. Mula-mula Hao Tao tahu. Raghunathan. Junaidi. Then because of this Raghunathan, Junaidi, Munusami, Ku Hichan came and says, okay, all this is very confusing. Our standard is a very high standard. So we thought 5 judges kan sekarang settle dah lah benda ni. Tak payah kes-kes baru lah. Tapi Tan Boon Kiat comes, again Justice Azmi, dia kata, common to all these cases is the fact that before a prima facie case can say to be established, there must be sufficient evidence to establish every legal ingredient of the charge against the accused, such as his identity, his identity, the OKT punya identity of the offensive exhibits. The evidence against the accused on the essential ingredients of the charge must be free of any reasonable doubt. Tan Boon Kiat, I put the drug here because it's heroin. Case heroin. Tada, 39B. Case, the 39B case. So what we are saying is this, even in Tan Boon Kiat, dia kata, there must be sufficient evidence to establish every legal ingredient. Bukan macam Lord Diplock kata, evidence sikit tak masuk akal, langsung tak masuk akal, cannot. But here we say sufficient evidence to establish every legal ingredient. So I'm telling you, on my view, Tan Boon Kiat also says the standard must be high. Junaidi also says standard must be high. Ku Hicham also says standard must be high. Then you're going to ask me, so what is the problem now? Semua macam sama je, except for Hao Tao lah. Every other case is sama je. Okay, I'll tell you what's the problem now. Next case, please. Okay, Arul Pragasam. Okay, so why Arul Pragasam now? I dah kata, kita ada Raghunathan, kita ada Junaidi, kita ada Munusami. All tiga hakim. Okay, then Ku Hicham kata all these are Supreme Court judges, so once and for all we want to settle the matter. 5 hakim turun padang Mahkamah Agung. 5 hakim, unanimous decision, close of prosecution's case maximum, evidence must be really quite happy. Kita ingat benda tu dah settle dah. Then Tan Boon Kiat case come in. So because Tan Boon Kiat case come in and Tan Boon Kiat issue was, what Justice Azmi says is, he agrees that the test is a high test, but he doesn't agree with saying that at the close of prosecution's case, prosecution must prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. So at the end of the day, the fight is uppercut. What is the word that we want to use? I agree the standard must be high, but I don't agree you call it beyond reasonable doubt. At the end of the day, it came to that. I'll explain to you why in a short while. So, Arul Pragasam, 7 hakim turun padang. Ku Hicham dah 5 kan? Kita ingat dah settle dah. Because Tan Boon Kiat came after Ku Hicham, because Tan Boon Kiat's case came after Ku Hicham's case, Arul Pragasam's case came in. Why I put kereta peronda dengan lori sana? Arul Pragasam's case, drugs, Penang case, drug was found in the lorry. So just to give you the imagination lah, drugs was found inside the lorry. Okay, fakta case is not important for us here lah, but drugs was found inside the lorry there. So in Arul Pragasam's case, 7 hakim Mahkamah Agung turun padang, final score 4-3. Majority decision, court must undertake a maximum evaluation test at the close of prosecution case. Okay, agree. Kita pun agree, maximum evaluation. Tapi masalah dia kata this test is now termed as beyond reasonable doubt. The judgment of the minority figure now, this agrees that the test at the close of prosecution case should be called beyond reasonable doubt. So you see what I'm saying or not? At the end of the day, both judges yang majority 4, minority 4, both agree it must be maximum evaluation test. Apa yang mereka tak setuju is apakah nama yang kita nak panggil benda tu. So, majority decision says that test is beyond reasonable doubt. Minority says we agree much maximum evaluation but cannot call it beyond reasonable doubt. That was the issue. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Syamil.
Start moving. Kami start moving ya.
Syamil.
Kami are waiting for the next slide.
Sir, I think Shahmi has some trouble with his line. I'll try to reach him.
Okay, alright, thank you. Okay, while we are waiting for that, if anybody want to ask me any questions, I can take some questions. If any questions, let me see. No questions yet. About 86 people tak ada soalan langsung. Yes, I can hear you. Tell me. Suhaili ke?
Yes, my name is Kylie. Sir, when the judge set the high standard for the test, is it because there's also influence of humanitarian on part of the judge?
Influence of what?
Humanitarian.
Humanitarian grounds. Yes, I would agree. Okay, you are calling it humanitarian grounds. I am saying yes because you want to see, if somebody is going to make an accusation against me, come with full evidence lah. So if you come with full evidence, then I can defend myself. So it's on that grounds why I think the judges were more in favor of the higher standard. Yeah. Okay. Can we move on to the Faisma is taken over. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Okay, next one. Sorry, earlier one. Earlier than that. One more earlier. Yes, stop there. Thank you. Okay.
Sir.
Yes.
Before I've reached Shahmi and he said that dia punya line ada masalah sikit, so kita present by Azia lah. Azia tolong movekan slide boleh?
Can Azia is helping me now, right?
Okay.
Okay, Azia, go to one more slide before this slide, please. Yes, okay, go. So again, Arul Pragasam, Muhammad Azmi Khairul Kau judge says this, and I said Muhammad Azmi was a dissenting judge yang tiga dua. For the purpose of establishing a prima facie case under section 180 of the CPC, the court should not accept, dia kata, any evidence as credible unless they are beyond reasonable doubt evidence. So at some point of time, Justice Azmi also gunakan perkataan beyond reasonable doubt evidence. However, such acceptance need not be conclusive of the guilt of the accused. Memang dia kata, evidence tu tahap dia must be beyond reasonable doubt. Tapi tak bermakna kita sedang convict dia secara beyond reasonable doubt. So I want you all to understand, even Justice Azmi was agreeing that it has to be a maximum evaluation, tapi janganlah kita katakan dia itu beyond reasonable doubt that you want to convict somebody at the close of prosecution stage. That's what he was saying. Alright? Okay, we look at the next slide, please. Next slide.
Next slide, Syaiton.
Okay, Louis Kao Chai. Kenapa I put the KFC there? Because the drug transaction took place in KFC. So I'm putting the KFC mark there. Alright? Gopal Sriram comes in the case of Louis Kao Chai, Court of Appellation. Dia kata, okay, he settled the matter for us. It would appear, dia kata, that a comparison between the passage earlier quoted, tadi I am quote tadi, from the minority judgment of Muhammad Azmi and that of Edgar Joseph. See, in Arul Pragasam's case, Edgar Joseph, tujuh hakim kan? Edgar Joseph wrote on the majority, Azmi wrote on the minority. So, Gopal Sriram is saying, kalau kita bandingkan what Edgar Joseph wrote and what Azmi wrote, there's no serious difference of opinion between them as to the rigor which the prosecution's evidence is to be examined. That means, cara kita nak evaluate the evidence tak ada perbezaan between apa Edgar Joseph cakap and apa Azmi cakap in Arul Pragasam. Cara evaluate, menilai evidence tu tak ada perbezaan. It is our respectful view, kata Gopal Sriram, that the difference of opinion, if any, kalaupun ada, we hasten to add, we are unable to see any, kita pun tak tahu apa dia kata, between the majority and minority in Arul Pragasam is not one of substance but form. So dia kata at the end of the day, kedua-dua mereka agree that it is, penilaian itu adalah pada tahap yang tinggi. Tetapi what these two great judges cannot agree is, apakah nama yang kita mesti panggil benda tu. That's all. That's all the difference is. So if today you ask me what is Prima Facie, I will tell you what is Prima Facie. Next slide please. Senang aja. To me, Prima Facie means penilaian maximum evaluation test. Because Justice Edgar Joseph kata evaluation of evidence beyond reasonable doubt. Azmi pula kata no, it's evaluation yes, but you cannot call it beyond reasonable doubt. So the nice compromise I think is kita gunalah perkataan maximum evaluation kerana throughout all the cases, sama ada Junaidi ke, Tan Boon Kian ke, Koh Hee Chiang ke, Arul Pragasam ke, semua kata it must be maximum evaluation of evidence. So Azmi SCJ in Tan Boon Kian did expressly agree that there is a need for maximum evaluation. So he also agreed. So you will realize at the end of the day, this was an opinion between Justice Azmi Kamaruddin and Justice Edgar Joseph. While both agree it has to be maximum evaluation of evidence, both could not agree apakah yang kita kena panggilkan benda itu. So the idea, right? Okay, next slide please. Sama aja. Next slide please. So what is the correct legal test? Correct legal test. So I given you this gambar. Kita dah baca semua case dah. Sekarang kita nak tahu what is the correct legal test. It would appear that a comparison between the passage earlier quoted from the minority judgment of Muhammad Azmi and that of Edgar Joseph, there is no serious difference of opinion. I have recited what Gopal Sriram said in Louis Kao Chai at page 751. Memang tak ada difference. Both judges agree it has to be maximum evaluation test. So if after going through after going through Raghunathan, Monusami, Junaidi, Ko Hee Chiang, Tan Boon Kian, Arul Pragasam, Lui Kau Chai. 8 kes. What is the test at the close of prosecution's case? Satu je, maximum evaluation test. That is the bottom line. What do you mean by maximum evaluation test? Kalau terdapat 5 intipati pertuduhan, pihak pendakwaan harus membuktikan setiap intipati pada tahap maksimum dia. Kalau mereka, and as pada pembelaan, apa mereka should do? Mereka should just punch a hole in any one of the ingredient. Kalau any one of the ingredient sudah punch hole, tak ada maximum evaluation. There is maximum evaluation. Once you punch hole, defense cannot be called because after maximum evaluation, there is not enough evidence to call for defense. Next slide, please. Same thing. Although Hautata's case was applied in Raghunathan, Munusamy, Junaida, it must be said that in all of these cases, the apex court did require maximum evaluation evidence. The only cause for dissension means the differences, was whether the test should be termed as proof beyond reasonable doubt or not. Okay, I've repeated myself. Next slide, please. Likewise, Ko Hee Chiang, Tan Boon Kian, Arul Pragasam, Lui Kau Chai, and Balachandran. All judgments conclusively spoke of a process that amounts to maximum evaluation of evidence. So you can read this on your own. So at the end of the day, what you need to understand is this. What is prima facie? Maximum evaluation of evidence. What do you mean by maximum evaluation of evidence? Prosecution must prove every ingredient of the charge, every intipati pertuduhan at a maximum test. Kalau maximum dia can prove, defense will be called. Kalau dia tak dapat capai tahap maksimum itu, defense should not be called because pihak pendakwaan gagal membuktikan kes prima facie. Clear? Next slide, please. Accused chooses to remain silent. I put for you this graph, this little diagram, because this was a case where Balachandran was charged for having monoacetylmorphin, 39B as well. Issue dia is this. And why the maximum evaluation test makes a lot of sense. Kenapa? Tahu? Tadi ada bagi tahu, bila pembelaan dipanggil, OKT akan diberi 3 pilihan. Keterangan bersumpah, tak bersumpah, mendiamkan diri. So mahkamah sudah pun call for defense after penilaian maksimum ke semua keterangan pendakwaan. So sekarang mahkamah kata, OKT, kamu ada 3 pilihan. OKT kata, saya pilih untuk diamkan diri. Kan? Bolehkah sekarang mahkamah menghukum OKT? Can the court now punish the OKT? The answer is yes, can. You know why? Mahkamah telah pun membuat penilaian maksimum dan kata bahawa berdasarkan penilaian maksimum ini, memang pihak pembelaan telah membuktikan kesnya. Sekarang OKT kata dia tak nak bagi apa-apa keterangan. Can I convict? The court can convict. Tapi cuba bayangkan, kalau kita gunakan the lower test of Lord Diplock in Hautata, kalau evidence tak masuk, as long as tak masuk akal, bermakna ada sedikit evidence pun call for defense. Sedikit evidence I call for defense, dia tak nak cakap. Dia kata, I want to remain silent. Can I convict on the sedikit evidence? Cannot lah. How to convict on sedikit evidence? That is why I'm saying it makes a lot of sense that at the close of prosecution's case, the test must be maximum evaluation of evidence. Because kita dah bagi OKT 3 pilihan. Kalau dia buat pilihan ketiga iaitu untuk mendiamkan diri, mahkamah seharusnya boleh membuat keputusan menghukum OKT kerana penilaian maksimal evidence telah pun dibuat. So it makes a lot of sense. Because our system, we are giving him a chance to remain silent. That's why tadi I kata, bila you are talking to a particular person, dia kata, I agree minta bicara, tapi kalau mahkamah kata nak bela diri, I want to choose to remain silent. We will advise him, kalau begitu jangan bela diri, terus aku salah saja. Kerana kalau you bela diri, tak nak bela diri after you call to give evidence, you will be convicted according to Bala Chandran. Kan? So that is why we need to advise our clients properly. Yeah? I think I've come to the last part of the slide. Next slide, please. Yes, project completed. Next slide. Question time.
Question time. Let's go.
Okay, Faizman, you can remove the slides and come back to the main screen. And then if anybody got any questions, I can answer the questions.
Good
Thank you.
afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Sir Ravi, good afternoon. Muzaffar here.
Yes, Muzaffar.
Thank you very much again
Dr.
for
Muzaffar.
to spend your time, valuable time to give a small talk about Prima Facie case to our student. Deeply appreciate it. How do you find using online to deliver?
Of course, the only complaint I will have is I cannot see the reaction of the participants, of the students.
Okay.
And I also, because when you're facing them face to face and you can see their faces, you know whether your message is going across. I'm sure as an academic teacher, you will understand that as well. Yeah, but under the circumstances, I think it is still not so bad lah.
Okay, so I just want to ask a question, sir. Okay,
Yes.
one more talk about Prima Facie.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about the logic of having why all jurisdiction, not only us in Malaysia, all over the world, they have this kind of first layer to prove a case against against the accused in criminal case? Why we need to have this Prima Facie case? Why can't we just straightforward go to the court, prove the case, BRD, and there will be the end of it? And if it's so good, why is it so limited in? Why is it limited in criminal case? Why not extend it to civil cases? That's all.
Okay. Dr. Muzaffar, the principle is this. The accused is innocent until proven guilty, kan? So
Yeah.
which means if somebody is accusing me of doing something, you prove the case, I tak payah cakap apa-apa. I will remain silent. If you can't prove, I will just walk away. I don't have to say anything at all. Only if you can prove your case, I need to come and say something. So that is the whole principle. So this is to basically to avoid people to just lemparkan tuduhan semata-mata and then ask me to go and defend myself. Mana nak pergi cari, kan? So that's why they say the burden of proof is always on the person who is making the allegation, and it is only criminal because kalau the pertuduhan is correct, the person will lose his liberty. So for that reason they say because liberty is so important, kalau ada orang tuduh kamu tak payah cakap apa-apa, the burden is on them to prove. Kalau dia sudah prove, baru you kena bela diri. That's the reason.
Okay, very clear, sir. Is there any jurisdiction which extend the idea of prima facie towards for civil cases? Are you aware?
No, the civil cases has always been the balance of probabilities. It's a very light, both parties cakap, both parties show documents, and then the court will make a decision. Because it's basically very commercial, very money nature, nothing to do with liberty, kan?
Yeah.
That's the reason, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Muzaffar.
Any question from the audience, other students? We have 86 participants.
86.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
My name is Wafi.
Yes, Wafi.
Saya ada soalan. Yang pertama, saya nak recap balik betul tak comprehension saya tentang apa yang you've presented lah. So basically dia punya method tu ataupun principle dia tetap sama between the judges yang dissenting tu lah dalam case of apa tadi
Tan Boon Kiat.
Yes, Tan Boon Kiat, Junaidi.
Tapi dia punya term ataupun dia punya nama je yang diorang tak letak sampai sekarang.
Betul.
Okey, dari situ saya nak tanya satu lagi. Apa beza dengan kes-kes ni dengan yang Hao Tua Tau ni? Apa beza dia?
Beza dia, Hao Tau kata as
Apa
long
saja?
as there is sedikit evidence,
Sedikit evidence.
sedikit masuk akal pun, you can call. But our cases like Tan Boon Kiat, Junaidi, Arul Prakasam, Kui Chang kata tak ada, tak boleh. You only suruh dia bela diri kalau you betul-betul tahu yang pihak pendakwaan telah buktikan kes mereka. Sedikit-sedikit orang jangan main. It's not enough.
I see.
So our standard I feel is higher.
So maknanya diorang nak cakap yang sedikit tu adalah sufficient.
How tahu kata sedikit tu sufficient. Can call for defense. Whereas we kata sedikit tak cukup. Every ingredient of the charge must be proven. There must be maximum evaluation at the end of the prosecution case.
Kisah yang soalan saya yang kedua, kalau ada void daya,
Dia.
Dia berlaku dekat mana? Boleh dekat prosecution case dengan ataupun defense case ataupun dekat defense case saja ke?
Okay. It can berlaku, usually it berlaku in the prosecution case kerana dia hendak wrong or salah. It can happen in the defense case also. Okay, macam mana berlaku? I give a statement to the police. I'm the defense, katakan. I kena tuduh. Di balai polis, my statement, I give a different statement. Masa dia EIC saya in the case pembelaan, saya beri pula statement, evidence yang lain di mahkamah. Look at the words I use. Statement kat balai polis, but when I give in court, I bagi evidence. Kedua-duanya pernyataan sahaja. Sama je pernyataan di balai polis, pernyataan di mahkamah. Tetapi legal terminology dia berlainan. In police station, I give a statement. In court, I give an evidence testimony. Okay? So, my testimony in court bercanggah dengan my statement in police station. So, mereka nak mencabar statement saya. Mereka nak kata saya bukan saksi yang kredibel. So, dia nak impeach saya. Kata saya tak boleh dipercayai. Dan masa itu, I kata, bila I beri statement in the police station, I kena torture lah, I kena belasah lah, macam tu. So, dia kena ada voir dire. So, voir dire itu pada masa pembelaan saya pula. So, voir dire can be held masa pembelaan. Okay, voir dire boleh juga diadakan masa masa kes pendakwaan. Kenapa? You see, for example, ada saksi pendakwaan yang hendak memberi keterangan. Tapi dia pun ada buat statement. Every saksi yang pergi ke mahkamah mesti ada buat statement. Sekarang statement dia juga bercanggah dengan keterangan dia di mahkamah. Tetapi yang statement yang bercanggah ialah saksi pendakwaan pula. So, boleh juga kita adakan voir dire. So, voir dire kita adakan bila statement bercanggah di balai polis dengan di mahkamah, and bila disoal dia kata saya buat statement di balai polis not voluntarily, I kena belasah lah all that. So untuk menentukan sama ada statement itu dibuat voluntary atau tidak, kita adakan voir dire. Jadi voir dire boleh diadakan in tahap pendakwaan and also tahap pembelaan.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Alright, thanks, Wafi. Any other questions?
Sir,
Yes, Suhaili.
conclusive evidence kan evidence yang which the law does not allow to be contradicted. So, kalau at the first stage, prosecution dah bagi conclusive evidence, dia dah dikira beyond reasonable doubt and dah ada prima facie ke belum cukup?
Sorry, what evidence you said? I'm not very clear. Louder, please, Suhaili.
Conclusive evidence.
Conclusive evidence.
Yes.
Okay. Whether the evidence is conclusive or not, Suhaili, is for the court to decide at the end of the day. Bagi pihak pembelaan ataupun pihak pendakwaan, we only got to prove our case. So, for example, if I say that motor tu motor curi, and I'm the pendakwa. So as a pendakwa, I got to bring the grand motor, I got to bring the pemilik yang nama dia ada di atas grand motor. So then I will make a submission bagi pihak pendakwaan, saya telah buktikan yang motor tu adalah motor kepunyaan pemilik berdasarkan dengan grand motor tersebut. So mahkamah akan buat keputusan, yes, I take that as a conclusive evidence. Okay? So the issue of whether the evidence is conclusive or not is the decision for the court, not for us. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Lokman.
Yeah, I got one question to ask. Is there any percentage indicator to prove prima facie case, to prove the maximum evaluation test?
Okay, ada.
Ada.
There's no percentage indicator. It is how you are going to make your submission. It is how you're going to make a submission. As an example, katakan it's a case of section 326 Kanun Keseksaan, voluntarily causing grievous hurt using a weapon. 326. Voluntarily causing grievous hurt using a weapon. Dengan sengaja membawa kecederaan parah menggunakan senjata. So, prosecution got to prove sengaja, prosecution got to prove cedera parah, prosecution got to prove senjata. Kan? Kalau senjata tak ada, prosecution cannot prove the case. Kan? So, there's no case at all in that case. So, there is no percentage indicator. We just got to patahkan the intipati pertuduhan. And how you patahkan the intipati pertuduhan, that is why we say this is law. This is not mathematics. Mathematics ada percentage indicator. Law, our percentage indicator is betapa persuasif kita di mahkamah. Berdasarkan dengan evidence. Betapa persuasif kita buat cross examination. Betapa persuasif kita buat hujahan kita di mahkamah. That's our skill. That's our percentage indicator. It's not a science. It's an art. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Sir?
Yes, Shami.
Alright, first of all, sorry for the technical glitch that happened. I'm not sure.
It's not your fault at all. No, it's
Right, I have one question. Like, for example, our staff nurse keeps on saying that he did not remember. So we can apply for refreshing memory, right?
Yes, you can.
Right. Can you enlighten us how does this refreshing memory takes place, and at which stage exactly that this refreshing memory occurs? Is it at prosecution or defense or what?
It depends on your witness, whether it's a prosecution witness or a defense witness. Usually, from a practical point of view, it's prosecution witness, because police officers have done lots of investigation, day in, day out, cannot remember. So, you as a defense counsel tanya soalan, tadi kamu kata kamu telah pergi ke tempat ini pada sekian-sekian masa, saya cadangkan kamu tidak pergi ke tempat tersebut pada sekian-sekian masa. Terjadi atau tidak? Then, he says, pohon yang Arif, saya lupa. Saya tahu saya pergi sana, tapi saya lupa tarikh bila saya pergi sana. Okay? Now, the prosecution can then say, kalau mahkamah mengizinkan, mohon dia untuk refresh memory. If he wants. If the prosecution keep quiet, kita boleh keep quiet lah. Even if the prosecution asks, okay, ada tak kamu pergi sana sekian hari buat benda ni? Saya ada pergi, tapi saya lupa bila saya pergi. And the prosecution can say, did you record it somewhere? Ya, saya ada rekod. Di mana? Dalam diary saya. Diary ada bawa ke mahkamah? Ada bawa. Ada catat dalam diary? Ada catat. Then the prosecution will ask the court, yang ada mohon izin untuk benarkan OKT refresh memory merujuk kepada diary. Okay? Then the court will say, okay, sebelum dia merujuk, bawa diary itu kepada saya nak tengok apa ada dalam. Mahkamah ask first. Kalau mahkamah tak buat begitu, pembelaan masih, I got no issue with him refreshing memory, but let him first show his ID to the court to make sure that that is the point he wants to refresh memory. Manalah tahu dia ada tulis apa-apa lain pula kat sana. Okay, then mahkamah akan berjaya. Mahkamah kata, okay, boleh. So, dengan kebenaran mahkamah, dia boleh rujuk kepada dokumen itu. Okay, tapi apa apa yang dia rujuk, the defense can say, okay, memandangkan dia telah rujuk, kita bagi pihak pembelaan pula nak tengok apa benda tu. So must he show? He must show. Because now it's a public document. So basically, to answer your question, Charlie, can refresh memory with the permission of the court.
Okay, got it.
Both sides, prosecution also can, defense also can.
But at which stage is it occurs at examination in chief or what?
And it can happen at any stage except re-examination.
Alright.
Because re-examination, you're already introducing new evidence.
Alright, okay.
But you see, like, Shami, depends. If I'm going to do a cross-examination, dia kata dia lupa, I'm not going to ask him the refresh memory. From a tactical point of view, why am I asking the refresh memory? Dia lupa. I will argue he's a witness who keeps forgetting things. How are you going to convict my client based on his evidence? So usually, a cross-examiner will not ask for refresh memory. Usually, it's when your witness is not remembering something, that's when you are fed up verbally. Then you ask for refresh memory. So usually, it's an examination in chief.
Alright, okay.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, Husna? Yes, Husna says she got two questions. They are her questions. Okay. Husna's question. The prosecution's case must be made by maximum evaluation test, right? Yes. So if the prosecution proves is not reaching the maximum evaluation, there would be no prima facie case and no defense will be called. Yes, you are correct. What considers the maximum evaluation test? How the court justified and reached the level of maximum? Does not it still has to be proved beyond reasonable doubt? First, now we do not want to go into beyond reasonable doubt, because that has been the main argument. Because the argument here is at the close of prosecution's case, it cannot be beyond reasonable doubt. Because kalau kita kata beyond reasonable doubt, that's a test which is used only at the end. So let's move away from that. So your answer, what constitutes maximum evaluation test? All the ingredients of the prosecution's case must be proven. For example, section 326, voluntarily causing grievous hurt using a senjata. So I must prove dia dengan sengaja melakukannya. Evidence, I must prove cedera pada, evidence, medical report. I must prove senjata pun ada. I dah prove senjata ada, medical report. Senjata ada because he caused her with the senjata. Medical report confirms senjata blunt trauma ke sharp object yang digunakan. Medical report also confirms ada cedera pada. And then evidence kata dia turun motosikal, petrol pump station, terus nampak seorang pukul dia dengan sengaja melakukan cedera parah. Tiga elemen dah proof, maximum evaluation, all for it. Okay. So it's basically from the facts, the court will decide whether there's maximum evaluation or not. If you are the defense lawyer, you need to patahkan that parameter. Any one of it. So that's how it works. So the test on maximum evaluation to prove all the ingredients of it. Yes, you're correct, Krishna. You're right. Okay,
sir.
Yes, Facie.
I have one more question. Tadi dekat case of Mat against PP, saya macam tak nampak yang boleh untuk judge tu buat DNA.
Okay. Once criminal trial does start, once defense sudah call, only two options for the court. Acquit, lepaskan dan bebaskan, atau convict. Tak ada lagi dah. Because kita kata the DNA both sudah lepas lari dah. Because defense sudah call dah. When defense is called, that means prosecution dah prove case dia pada penilaian maksimum dah. So court only got two things to do. Acquit ataupun convict. Tak ada DNA. DNA semua sebelum defense is called.
I see. So maknanya yang section 254 CPC tu untuk before defense is called lah.
Before defense is called. After defense is called in a DNA, but of course they'll say, why? Defense already called. I can convict, why I want to give a DNA? So jarang lah. I've not heard of it. Don't theoretically bully lah, because under the section 1, article 145 clause 6 of Federal Constitution, prosecution can withdraw the charge at any time.
Yes.
Tapi kalau defense call you want to withdraw the charge, very difficult to justify lah. Why you want to withdraw the charge when defense is called? You're already on your way to conviction one. So theoretically bullying, practically very difficult to justify.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, most welcome. 3:36. Any more questions? Kalau tidak,
I think there's a question in the chat, sir.
okay. Atika is asking a question. If the court make maximum evaluation, is that means there will be little bit doubt in the close of prosecution case? Wow, this is a very interesting question Atika is asking me. A little bit of doubt in the close of prosecution's case. Atika, don't even go near whether there's going to be a doubt in the close of prosecution's case. Whether there's a doubt in the close of prosecution's case, in the close of prosecution's case, the court will not even consider whether there's a doubt or not. Kalau there's a little bit of doubt, court will memang akan acquit, won't call for defense. Kalau maximum evaluation, see, the reason why I'm concerned about having this discussion is, Atika, your next question will be, does it mean it is beyond reasonable doubt then? The moment you ask me that question, we are going back to Junaidi, we are going back to this great battle between Justice Azmi and Justice Akil Yusuf. So I don't want to go into that. So we want to just basically say, maximum evaluation test is penilaian maximum. So to answer your question, kalau pun ada little bit of doubt, the court shouldn't call for defense, the court must acquit and discharge. So yes, your understanding is right, but I don't want to use that word a little bit of doubt in close of prosecution case, because memang I agree with you, kalau little bit doubt, don't call for defense. Because you see, I take it further. Kalau katalah hakim ada little bit of doubt and he still call for defense, then OKD masa tu kata, I want the elect to remain silent. How to convict on little bit of doubt? You see or not? So that is why you cannot call, kalau ada little bit doubt also, technically they must acquit. They shouldn't call for defense. Okay? Yes. Thank you, Atika.
Is there any questions? Is there any questions that you guys want to ask? Right. So do you have anything left that you want to share?
Nothing. All I'm saying is, like today we know that those are the cases with regards to Prima Facie. Yes. What I think will make you all better lawyers is by reading more case laws. I know you all are fourth year students. You must have the interest to read case laws. You may not understand it in one reading, but just read it, keep it at the back of your mind. Once you start putting it into practice, you'll be able to understand the principle clearer. Right? Sorry, Imran is asking me a question. I want to know how during trial is conducted in court. I think you're asking for voir dire, trial within trial. As I was explaining just now, a trial within trial is when you are challenging the voluntariness of a statement. So masa tu, the main trial comes to a stop Dan mahkamah kata, okey, semua berkenaan dengan main trial kita stop dulu. Kita now hendak buktikan sama ada statement itu dibuat secara sukarela ataupun tidak. So a mini trial take place. Sama je lah examination in chief, cross examination, re-examination. While the police officers, I made a statement, I tak pukul dia, I tak buat benda ke. Then the defense may want to call their own witnesses. So lepas tu mahkamah akan buat keputusan, statement itu dibuat secara qualitative. So tutup trial within trial, go back to the main trial. So sekarang, in the main trial, the statement itu akan dimasukkan sebagai evidence. That's how it goes. Yep. Okay.
Tutup lawan, tutup lawan.
Right, is there any questions that you want to ask? Right, so having finished with the Q&A session, then it must, right, okay, having finished with the Q&A session, then it marks the end of our talk. On behalf of USIM Legal Clinic, we would like to express our highest gratitude to Mr. Robinico for this sharing session. I pretty much believe that this is very informative as it has enlightened us about the concept of prima facie case through case-by-case basis. You have enlightened us about many cases. I think that is very, very enlightening, and looking forward for any programs or any talks with you in the future, right? So